Candace Owens sets the record straight after a male feminist tries to peddle this ridiculous propaganda about how women are just so oppressed with this gender wage gap, or as I like to call it, the gender wage myth. Guys, this is gonna be a fun one. I know I like Candace Owens and many of you do too, and we all know that she does not hold back. So this is gonna be a good one and you're gonna enjoy it. But first, everybody, please like our video, share it around, and subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel. That way, we can keep these awesome clips coming and coming. As always, I'm your host, Darian, and let's get into the video.
I looked at some data while you were speaking about the gender pay gap in the UK and the US. So apparently it's 17% in the UK and 19% in the US.
No, it's not.
And it's WEF data, so I just looked at that right now.
The
So
myth of the gender
World
pay gap.
Economic from in 2015,
Right.
in
So,
percentage.
happy to talk about this at length.
This is
so
like,
my question is basically, what do you think are the causes of this?
It doesn't exist.
Well,
Do
no,
you-
there is a cause for it. I'll tell you what it is.
And do you think there should be public measures to tackle it? And the causes and the public
Fair
reaction.
question.
So
I
what do you
get it all the time because obviously I'm like the anti-feminist. So people are always like, how can you deny the gender, the wage gap? Okay. So when I went to university, all of the girls that I was friends with were majoring in fashion and textiles and merchandising. And they all went off to intern at Vogue. And pick out Prada bags that maybe Kate Moss would wear on the cover of something. The average pay for that, if you want to be in fashion when you get out of school, is $20,000. Men were majoring in business and engineering and things that when you get out of school, you get paid more. If our interests, if we're going to go in and we're not going to be taking serious majors, and we're shocked when we find out the world doesn't need more people to pick out Prada bags for Kate Moss's shoot. I mean, that's not a gender wage gap. That's an interest gap, right? And that's what's happening. Also, women, we have different interests. Women aspire to get married, they aspire to have children. They leave the workforce earlier. Every single one of my girlfriends, what I'm saying is that a person that is a brain surgeon should not get paid the same amount as a person that wants to pick out Prada bags for the rest of her life. I mean, this is what's going on in America. When you look at the wage gap, they're not telling you what the jobs actually are and what women are going into in terms of their majors in university. When you're taking feminist dance class 101, you're not going to make 6 figures when you go out of university. That's just the truth. And women, if there was a real feminist movement, would talk about that, would say, hey, if you want to make as much as men, maybe we should be majoring in engineering and things like that, but we don't because we have different interests, which is fine. But you then can't complain and think that we should now have a society that forces, what are we going to do? Are we going to have like a government that says now we have to pay women that want to go into fashion 6 figures to make them feel good and like they're doing things that are productive in society? Like that's not a practical solution. If we want to get serious, if women want to make more than men, they do. It's actually been proven statistically in America that when they go into the same majors and take on the same jobs, women get paid more than men in those particular fields.
So for Google, for example, I'm going to comment on this in a variety of different ways. Google, for example, did a pay equity audit 2 weeks ago.
That was last week.
And Google said we must go after gender-based wage discrimination. Turns out that men were being significantly underpaid at Google, so they dished out $9 million in bonuses to men at Google because women were being overpaid. A couple things. First of all, if you just lazily, as some of the studies that you referenced, not you're being lazy, but the studies are lazy, extrapolate all the women and all the men at a certain age and don't take into account how long they've been in a job, what they studied, their experience prior, the gender wage gap in the States does exist. But if you take in women that study the same stuff as men and are in the workforce at the same time as men, they actually earn 106 cents of the dollar more, meaning 6 cents more than a man does in the States. Candace made a brilliant point. In the States, if you look at the 5 majors that are the highest performing majors and the 5 majors that are 5 lowest performing majors. So roughly the 5 highest performing majors in the United States of America: petroleum engineering, business, finance, things of that nature. They're 80 to 90% more or less dominated by men. There's only 1 major that are dominated by women, a single out of the 5. If you look at the 5 worst performing, pre-K education, things of that nature, elementary school education, almost 80 to 90% dominated by women because they naturally will make different choices because they're biologically
We're
set
just
up
biologically different. Our interests are different.
Really quick, women are also...
Can I just go back on that? Because I find it's a very interesting point you're making, the interest and the biologically
Yeah, it's backed up by a Cambridge study.
Can you just elaborate on this? Because I would tend to disagree about the biologically part of the, for instance, woman, you say the gender gap doesn't exist and that women would be more inclined to do a fashion degree rather than a business degree.
And women and men are different, yes.
I'm going to say something that you probably hate, an expression you hate, but social construct.
No, we have evidence of this, though. Look at the Scandinavian countries. They tried to get rid of this. They actually allowed teenagers to choose do you want to get into STEM fields or not? And the data actually showed that women naturally wanted to go towards, when they tried to make the society totally equitable and they tried to get rid of these gender roles, women still, because of the biological predisposition towards nurturing, women...
We naturally want to nurture.
They go...
To back up what they're saying about how women actually do earn more than men when you put the proper controls in place, mainly education, type of job, years worked, etc. Time magazine actually did a report on this a few years back and conclusively found that in 147 out of 150 of the most major cities in the United States, women make more than men, an average of 8% more than men if you put in all those controls. So in other words, there is a wage gap, but it's not what you think. And I don't even think you need a scientific study or whatever to prove this. Just look around you. I've worked in corporate settings before. I have many friends who have. I've talked to them at length. It's just a fact that if a woman is about equally as qualified as the man, she often gets the upper hand. It's just a fact that if a woman is equally qualified as a man, sometimes less qualified, she gets the upper hand. It just is what it is. Call me sexist, call me misogynist, whatever, I don't care. I'm gonna say the non-politically correct and truth as it is, okay? Take sales, for example, and just think about this logically, okay? If a woman is trying to sell something, people are more likely to listen to her on the basis that she's a woman, especially if she's pretty, okay? If you're just some guy, people will be like, screw him, I don't need him. Unless the man really proves that he has something of value to bring that person might be interested in, they're not even gonna have it. Meanwhile, a woman, she can just give a cute smile and then they're in and the conversation starts. Just the truth. All right, let's go back to the video and see more of this just nonsense that's being spewed.
There are definitely studies against that nurturing part. Women are not more inclined to be nurturing.
110% we are. 110.
Sweden is the example of it. You're just wrong.
It's just true. It's just true.
Based on what? What studies? Is it true based on what?
There was a study.
Based on what? What study? What study shows women are more nurturing? Dude, how about you try crawling out from under the rock? You don't need a scientific study to know basic facts about human nature and reality. Like, I don't know, use your brain and think for a sec. I mean, what serious person is gonna say, yeah, a big burly man, he's just as like cutesy with a little baby as a woman is? Give me a break. It's like, how are we even debating this? It's just so dumb. Oh, show me a study. Like it's a Pokemon card. You just gotta summon at a moment's notice to prove your point. Dude, just think, be a human. Crazy concept, I know.
By Cambridge scientists that demonstrated that men naturally revert to environments that require more structure, such as politics and the professions that he mentioned.
Business
and women naturally revert to professions such as teaching, which require more empathy and emotion. This is just a natural thing.
No,
it's important not
really?
it's important not to say that women should be forced into those roles, but you do have to accept
that we naturally
that
do.
we naturally revert to them.
It's just true. I'm just telling you, like, even if you've said, I'm telling you, every single woman that I went to university with versus every single man, there's just a difference in terms of the majors that we're picking, and we're not forced to pick certain majors. We just aren't forced to. So what you're seeing is the result of people picking their different interests, right? And unfortunately, the other part of your question was, should we do something in society to even it out? We don't have to do anything in society to even it out.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Do you think there's a biological difference between a man and a woman?
I do believe indeed there's a biological difference between man and woman, but when it comes to interest, I do more believe that...
So let me ask you a follow-up. Don't mean to interrupt rudely, but if we have biological differences, do I have more testosterone than she does?
I think, yes, indeed.
Do you think that testosterone could drive you to do different interests and things?
Well, I could indeed do believe that. The thing is...
So maybe a man might be more likely to be a weightlifter, serve in the army, be a police officer, a firefighter, and a woman who has more estrogen might want to be a nurturer, preschool teacher. Do you see how biology...
I have another question. Do you think it's desirable for the society, this kind of...
Of course.
I love it, yeah.
Absolutely.
I love the yin and...
Is it desirable for society that men and women are different? I think that's what he's asking. Duh. Yeah, we have gender and roles for a reason, okay? There are certain things that men are better at. There are certain things that women are better at. Believe it or not, this was not a controversial statement up until, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago when people started getting all stupid and feminist. So, yeah, men and women are different. Surprise, surprise. Bum, bum, bum. Who would have thought?
Yang. I think men and women are symbiotic, it's beautiful, it's biblical, and it's something that we should stop trying to actively work to force and destroy at a certain point. I love it. And I did a podcast. I was interviewing John Voight, who you guys might know. He's Angelina Jolie's father, and he was talking about this like biblical, beautiful thing that our society is currently trying to destroy. And he said the thing that I see over and over again in my life, and it's nice because he's 80 years old now, so they have that wisdom when they get old. And he said women just know what to do when they have children. He's like, they just know. It's so innate. When you see a woman with a child, it's just the most beautiful thing. He goes, you get men around there, they don't know what they're doing. And every single one of my girlfriends that now has children says the same thing, that it's easier when the man just leaves the house because it's like they have another child, right? And that's beautiful, right? And feminists make you think that there's something wrong with that. Like, make him do this and do that. And it's like, yes, there are certain things that we innately know how to do. And when I see a child, I instantly know how to take care of them. That's just something that's innate and it's biological. And maybe I don't.
What a sexist thing to say, Candace. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
The data and the facts are described to you that I can prove that this is a thing, but it is. It just is a thing. And I don't know why society wants to destroy that or force it in a different way and make men the people that are innate and know what to do when they see children. There's something really beautiful and spiritual about that should never be disrupted.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Amen. At the end of the day, men are good at some things and women are good at other things. This should not be a controversial thing to say. And I will say, while that guy was, a little bit of a dopey argument, seemed like a nice enough dude, seemed like he was having a good faith conversation, so respect to him. We love that at Resist the Mainstream. We like a good conversation. Well, guys, that wraps up our clip for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, comment below, let us know what you liked, what you want to see next, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thank you, and God bless.